Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, President Tinubu acknowledges tough economic situation, pledges to reduce burden imposed by fuel price hike and multiple exchange rate. Senate resolves to intervene to avert Nigeria Labour Congress planned strike, screens 14 ministerial nominees. 3 people killed, 2 others injured as Dangote truck loses control in Zaria, Kaduna State. And on the foreign scene, Niger junta arrests senior politicians after coup. International Monetary Fund monitors events. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour tonight. I am Eugenia Abu. President Bola Tinubu says his administration is monitoring the effects of the exchange rate and inflation on fuel prices and will intervene if and when necessary to ease the hardship of Nigerians. The president made the promise during a nationwide broadcast Monday, promising that government would immediately release 200,000 metric tons of grains from strategic reserves to households across the 36 states and FCT to ensure staple foods were available and affordable. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The much-anticipated nationwide broadcast of President Bola Tinubu not only dwelt on the reasons for the removal of fuel subsidy and unification of the exchange rate system, but outlined strategies to ease the suffering of Nigerians. The president unveiled plans to provide 225,000 metric tons of fertilizer, seedlings and other inputs to farmers, while supporting the cultivation of 500,000 hectares of farmland for all year-round farming. Out of the 500 billion naira approved by the National Assembly, President Tinubu said 200 billion naira had been set aside for this purpose.
Our administration will invest 50 billion each to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize. 50 billion each will also be earmarked to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat and cassava. This expansive agricultural program will be implemented targeting small farm holders and leveraging large-scale private sector players in the agri-business with strong performance record.
To strengthen the manufacturing sector and create good-paying jobs, the president said government would fund 75 enterprises with 75 billion naira between July 2023 and March 2024.
Each of these 75 manufacturing enterprises will be able to access 1 billion credit at maximum of 9% per annum, with maximum of 60 months repayment for long-term loans and 12 months for working capital.
To ease transportation, President Tinubu said 100 billion naira will be released between now and March 2024 to acquire 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG-fueled buses, which would be rolled out across the states and local governments for mass transit.
Participating transport companies will be able to access credit under the facility at a maximum per annum 9% interest rate with 60 months repayment period. And then, in the same vein, we are also working in a collaboration with the labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers.
The bottom line is that President Tinubu is not going back on his economic reforms, but believes fighting the major imbalances that have plagued the economy will result in long-term good. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
In the meantime, the Presidential Steering Committee on Palliatives Monday evening met representatives of the organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Abuja. The meeting is coming barely 48 hours to the planned nationwide protest by the labor unions. It is believed that they considered presentations from the federal government subcommittees on mass transit, compressed natural gas, and cash transfers to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. Recall that last Friday, the organized labor stormed out of a meeting with the federal government because there was no quorum. Present at the meeting were President of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, his counterpart from TUC, Festus Osifo, the General Secretary of NLC, Emma Ugbaja, TUC Secretary, Nuhu Toro, and other members of the organized labor delegation, including Professor Sam Amadi. On the federal government side were the President's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Kachalom Daju, Group Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, and the Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Olu Vahejan, among others. The Senate on Monday commenced the screening of nominees forwarded to the Senate for confirmation as ministers. The Senate also on Monday directed its leadership to meet with the federal government and the Nigeria Labour Congress to avert the impending nationwide strike action by the organized labor over fuel price hikes. Here's the report.
At the close of
We apologize for the challenge in bringing you that story. In the meantime, we have joining us in the studio Dr. Hussaini Tukur, an academic at Nasarawa State University, who is here to discuss various issues across the Nigerian news landscape. I'd like to warmly welcome you to the studio.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Tukur, for joining us today. President Tinubu in his broadcast acknowledged the hardship in the country, but he said that we will get out of this turbulent time. Are you convinced with the interventions the president ruled out?
Well, the intervention are unprecedented, but from the looks of things and the precedent set over time by various administrations, it appears that all the palliative may not materialize in the immediate situation. They will in the near future, about 3 to 4, up to 5 months, because some of them require logistics, some of them require implementation strategy and implementation structure. And at the present situation, we do not have political leadership in most ministries and agencies, and that requires a serious planning approach in order to achieve these ones. Take, for instance, the president's immediate promise to release about 200,000 metric tons of assorted grains to reach households. One will ask, what is the logistic that is in place as at now that will be implemented in the next 1 month to reach all nook and crises of Nigeria? This is a very important challenge, which I'm sure requires intergovernmental relation. It requires synergy, and this appears to be something that cannot be materialized right now.
All right, so as far as you can tell, it will take some doing, some logistics over 5 to 6 months. The president made a speech, a national broadcast, and he brought that broadcast to Nigerians. Do you think that this broadcast would avert the planned Nigerian Labour Congress strike?
We do not know at present what is on the table, even though we know the conditions given by the Labour, which is under consideration, and that it is expected at the meeting currently going on, the Labour will also consider the presentation of the president, his speech, and see how those expectations raised by the president can be realized. And I believe the Labour will also have to consider so many other factors. I believe in the long run, the impending strike may be averted.
We hope so. And on ministerial screening, the take A bow and go tradition continues in the Senate during ministerial screenings. You often hear about certificate scandal involving screened and confirmed nominees. What does this say about due diligence and even independence of the legislature, Dr. Tukur?
It is a very sad development in a nation that is trying to ensure democratic values. One, what is the essence of the independence of the three arms of government? One, every arm is independent, should be independent, and should work assiduously to represent Nigerians. That means they must be meticulous in the screening of each and every candidate presented by the president. Not only because there is need to screen, but there is need to ensure competence, there is need to look at the background of the candidate, what he has done in the past, and what Nigerians will expect from him. And that is the essence of screening. If the legislature will continue to act the way it acted in the respect of the Ninth Assembly, that means the essence of the existence of the National Assembly may not be necessary at all, at least in Nigerian democracy.
Well, having said that, it is true that some nominees made the list as reward for the electoral victory of the president. Why is this so, and why can't people who have distinguished themselves in various fields of endeavor be nominated instead?
It is the prerogative of the president to look for competent individual that will assist him in the running of the country. And the Constitution is very clear in that regard, that if for every state there should be a representation in the cabinet. And therefore the president has the right to look at in each state and to select a candidate he feels who will be competent enough to carry out the responsibility he will assign to him and in the ministerial position. But it's also equally the responsibility of the National Assembly, especially the Senate, to ensure that the selection of the president deserves to be endorsed. And that requires a thorough screening exercise.
Expectedly, a thorough screening exercise from Dr. Hussaini Tukur, an academic from the Nasarawa State University, KEFI. We want to thank you for making the time to join us and throw some light on some of the issues trending in the nation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
The Senate on Monday commenced the screening nominees forwarded to the Senate for confirmation as ministers. The Senate also on Monday directed its leadership to meet with the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress to avert the impending nationwide strike action by the organized labor over fuel price hikes. Here's that report.
At the close of Monday's exercise, the Senate screened no fewer than 14 out of the 16 that were scheduled for screening on Monday. Among those screened were Abubakar Momo from Edo State, former governor of Rivers State, Jenson Wike, Joseph Tessy from Benue State, as well as the acting chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abubakar Kyari.
Passion for the job. There are so many people who want to be minister, who want to be governor, for the sake that I was a governor, for the sake that I was a minister. But there are those who say, look, what do I want to offer? Am I committed to this job? And I thank Mr. President for nominating me. I believe, knowing how hungry Mr. President is to solving the problems of Nigeria.
Distinguished senators, I am very, very honored to appear before you for the screening as a ministerial nominee.
The exercise continues on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Senate on Monday directed its leadership to meet with the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress to avert the impending nationwide strike action by the organized labor over fuel price hike. The NLC had given the federal government an ultimatum to revert the fuel subsidy removal or face a nationwide strike beginning from Wednesday, August the 2nd. The resolution of the Senate followed a motion on the urgent need to avert impending nationwide strike sponsored by Senator Suleiman Kawu. Kawu insisted that the strike will have a devastating effect on the nation's economy if allowed to hold.
Disturbs that the strike will cripple the country as movement will be severely curtailed as commercial transport operators will withdraw their services, while market, schools, and healthcare service facility will be forced to shut down.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio called on local government areas and state government to work together to ameliorate the sufferings of the people.
A true reflection of the feelings of most members of these hallowed chambers. We believe strongly that we must continue to identify with our constituents that sent us here.
Also on Monday, a group from the Taraba Youth Mandate earlier staged a protest to the National Assembly against the confirmation of the nominee from the state, Sani Danladi, whom they said was convicted for certificates forgery and banned from holding public office for 10 years. Rashidat Yusuf for Trust TV News.
Following the nomination of ministers as communicated to the National Assembly, there has been reactions from Nigerians about the personalities on the list. In Makurdi, experts say whoever is appointed depends on the political will of President Bola Tinubu. Jimmy Azande now reports.
For many, the list of 28 ministerial nominees is loaded with the right personalities who can work on the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu.
If you are a very good person, you're good hands, you came in on merit, and you're working for a boss who is not interested in the vision you have, how would you succeed? I'm speaking in philosophic terms because of the things that have happened in the past. If you have a president or a governor who's oriented towards bringing development, of course, you will have to work or you'll be shown the door. So I have seen it's not personnel changes that will do this. It is the vision of the president. If he puts you there in a particular position as a minister, he has to give you a target on what he expects you to do. And if you don't meet the target, then you should be shown the way out.
Others spoke on the constitutionality of the process and applauded the president for having an all-inclusive nomination.
Just the president has tried to act within the constitutional ambit to transmit the list of his ministerial nominees to the National Assembly for screening. A critical look at the ministerial list or the nominees shows a mixture of politicians, technocrats, and in all of this, the odds rest on the president to inject the right political willpower. And I think the people that have been selected so far are ably qualified to be ministers of this country.
They urged the president to consider more women and youth in the remaining slots.
Of 12 names that would come, I want to see more of the youth system around, youths and women. Bringing people that have fresh ideas, youths that are hungry to change the trajectory of this country, youths that want to make sure that are committed, youths that have the hunger, youths that are passionate about this country. So by and large, I'll give you the benefit of doubt, but I'm not very, very impressed because I see those people on the list as more of politicians, than people that would come with a new idea. And then another part is the government of national unity, seeing people like Governor Wike, and then there's other man from the southwest that I think it belongs to the SDP on that list. It shows the president also has this inclusive agenda.
The nominees are being screened by the National Assembly. In the meantime, Nigerians are already profiling them into ministries, looking at their curriculum vitae. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Amidst the soaring fuel prices occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy, some commercial car drivers in Gombe State have grounded their vehicles. Speaking to Ibrahim Ismail, the drivers said their operations were paralyzed by low patronage and exorbitant fuel prices. Here's that report.
Abdul Muttalib transports passengers from Gombe to Plateau State. But since the removal of fuel subsidy, commuters' turnout has been at its lowest ebb. The situation has crippled his financial muscles. The driver who used to support people has been forced to start begging for 100 naira or 50 naira to eat because of low patronage induced by the fuel subsidy removal. Managers at this roadside motor park located at Old Mile 3 Gombe say they used to record more than 50 passengers traveling from Gombe to other Nigerian cities on daily basis. But since the implementation of the subsidy removal, things have changed. We are the leaders here, but we depend on the proceeds generated by our members before we feed our families. But now, we have grounded most of our vehicles. In addition to the hike in transport fares, commuters witnessed delays at the park before takeoff due to low turnout. I came here since 2 p.m. but it's now 5 p.m. and we couldn't take off to Bauchi because there are not enough passengers. We have been stranded here since morning. No vehicle took off to Jos because of low turnout. The transport fare has been reviewed upward from 2,500 naira to 5,000 and 6,000 naira respectively. The removal of fuel subsidy has plunged millions of Nigerians into hardship and forced them to shelve unnecessary travels, a situation that is taking its toll on commercial drivers. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
And from the transport situation in Gombe State, we go to the Adamawa State capital, Yola, where businesses have reopened as normalcy returned to Yola after hoodlums attacked residents and broke into warehouses. So far, the Adamawa State Police Command says it has apprehended and paraded 110 suspects. Salis Lawan brings us up to speed with developments in the state.
Businesses are now open as normalcy has been restored in the state and improved security in parts of the state. On Sunday, residents of Yola, the Adamawa State capital, woke up to attacks by hoodlums who broke warehouse belonging to the government and other individuals in search of what they called palliatives. According to the police in Adamawa, over 110 suspects have been arrested in connection with the attacks.
Thank you very much. As you can see, people are moving around, going about their normal businesses. And that follows the support gotten from the state government, and at the same time the effort made by the police and the sister security agencies in restoring normalcy. As it is, now that the curfew has been reviewed, we respectfully call on members of the public to go about their normal businesses and be obedient to the timing, because the command has already earmarked and designed a security template.
With normalcy restored, business owners are calling for improved security to forestall a possible reoccurrence.
Yes, I'm comfortable because there is full security. The government tried putting on the soldiers, the police, the forces. So there is a change.
Is whenever the food has been brought, either to share for people, let them share it in time so that this thing will not happen again. That's the only solution of it. But to keep the food, it's not a solution for it. But let them share it in time so that every people can get it in time.
During the unfortunate incident on Sunday, both public and private warehouses were attacked, with the State Emergency Management Agency store being the worst hit. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Yobe State Governor Mai Mala Buni has directed the newly constituted Committee on Palliatives to mobilize resources for immediate distribution to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. Buni gave the directive on Monday in a statement issued by his spokesman, Mohammed, and made available to newsmen. The governor also ordered the committee to map out a holistic approach to identifying areas that require immediate, intermediate and long-term interventions. He further explained that already the State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, has commenced the distribution of food materials to people living with disabilities, while assuring that government will provide support in other critical sectors like transport and continue with its empowerment programs, as well as providing accessible and affordable healthcare delivery and education, among others. Buni urged the people to cooperate with the government in its commitment to provide support to the people to cushion the hardships. Commercial and vehicular activities were disrupted as workers under the employ of the Oyo State government took to the streets of Ibadan to protest their displeasure over what they termed government's perceived insensitivity to their welfare. Led by labor leaders, the aggrieved Nigerians promised to totally paralyze economic activities within 24 hours if their demands were not urgently looked into. Here's that report.
It is a total shutdown of government activities as workers in the Oyo State Civil and Public Service laid siege at the entrance of the state seat of power, barring visitors from gaining access to the facility.
Appreciate the harmonious relationship we'll be having with the government, and we wouldn't want that to be jeopardized. We observe that a lot of misgivings, misrepresentatives has been happening, and it's created a lot of distortions between us and the government. So the labor leaders met and we decided we want to have a roundtable talk with Mr. Governor. Many of our agitations have been misquoted to him.
Pensioners in Oyo State, they are really suffering. I can tell you authoritatively that there are some pensioners that are still collecting 300 naira per month. Please, I would like to repeat that, 300 naira per month for some pensioners. From where we are standing here in Secretariat to bus stop, 350 naira will not take you, whether it is on Okada or Keke, to and fro.
The aggrieved workers kicked against the inability of government to properly review salaries and pensions, non-remittance of deductions, amongst all the contentious issues they said have made life unbearable for them.
What we want is government should come out, most especially Oyo State. It's very unfortunate that Oyo State is a space center state. Yes, we are still lacking behind. The government should be sensitive to our plight, in the sense that how are these workers coming to work every day? Most of them trek kilometers before they get to their place of work.
There's no pensioner in Oyo State that does not have areas of pension and gratuity to collect. As I speak with you, we have unpaid gratuities from year 2014 to date.
The workers further took their message to the streets, disrupting vehicle movement and grounding business activities. Armed with placards bearing various inscriptions, they called out the government at all levels to put the interests of the ordinary Nigerian at heart.
So we are out telling the Oyo State government that for as long as you deduct salaries of Oyo State workers without remitting to their various cooperative societies, without remitting check-off deals to the various trade unions, you are a rogue government.
Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the Oyo State Governor on Labour Affairs, Adebayo Titilola Sodo, has assured workers of the government's commitment to their welfare. The former Labour leader was reacting to the protest embarked by the workers in the civil and public service. Sodo, who advised the state's employees to be wary of what he termed unscrupulous elements bent on truncating the peace within its workforce, promised that the government would continue to discharge its constitutional duties to our workers.
Of course, there was a time we were owing them deduction areas. We had 6 and 4 has been paid since last week. So I wonder why anybody will now go on the streets for something that you have already received. And when we are talking of review of pensions, this government met several areas of entitlements on ground, which we have cleared. Some people are claiming that someone reviewed pensions for them sometime. That person never paid. It's this government who came in and started paying the reviews they got then. And the government is not ready to do a review that it will not be able to meet.
These concerned Nigerians have also raised questions about the sincerity of government in its handling of the removal of subsidy on petroleum products, which has further impoverished more Nigerians. They say they will not fold their arms and watch the lives of Nigerians' best brains stuffed out due to government's alleged insensitivity and negligence.
A truck belonging to Dangote Group has smashed a resident, killing 3 people and injuring 2 others in Zaria. An eyewitness told Daily Trust that the incident occurred around 3 o'clock in the morning while the residents were fast asleep. He explained that the Dangote truck driver lost control and hit the residence of one Abdul Zailani at Monday morning and penetrated into their room while they were fast asleep. The incident is said to have occurred at number 162 Angwajuma, Zaria City in Kaduna State, involving a Dangote truck with registration number DSR 3F029. Those who lost their lives were Hadiza Haruna 14, Usman Haruna 9, and Saliha Haruna, while their parents, Malam Haruna Abdul Qadir and his wife, Ruhana Tru Yusuf, have been rushed to hospital for medical attention. Reports say the actual driver of the truck, Malam Abdullahi, was not aware that his conductor, aged 20, picked the key and drove the truck along with his friend and caused the accident. Confirming the incident, the divisional police officer in charge of Zaria City, Kasim Abdul, who was at the scene of the incident, said they have recovered 3 bodies and rushed 2 to the hospital for medical attention. About 4 persons died while 10 others sustained injuries in an accident involving 2 vehicles on Gumel-Kanu Road in Jigawa. A spokesman of the Federal Road Safety Corps in the state, Ibrahim Gambo, confirmed the accident in a road traffic report in Lutse on Monday. Gambo said the accident occurred when a bus had a head-on collision with an oncoming vehicle at Achawia village in Gumel local government area of the state. He said that 4 male passengers were certified dead by a medical doctor at a hospital in the area, while 7 other males and 3 females were receiving treatment. He advised motorists to shun night journeys and respect traffic rules to ensure safety on the road. President Bola Tinubu has performed the official decoration of the newly appointed service chiefs. This event formally marks the beginning of their tenure as the nation's topmost defense officers. The ceremony, which held inside the council chambers of the presidential villa, was witnessed by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, top government officials and family members of the officers. The service chiefs, whose appointments were initially announced on June the 19th, have undergone comprehensive screening by the National Assembly. Having successfully completed this legislative scrutiny, they now take up their roles as the chief architects of Nigeria's defense and security strategies. President Tinubu, in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief, presented the new service chiefs with their higher office insignia, signifying the weight of the responsibilities they now bear. The chiefs pledged their dedication to ensuring the peace, unity, and security of the Nigerian state.
Like I always say, no matter how diverse we are one family, staying in the same house, but living in different rooms. And you are promoting that peace and stability on behalf of all of us and for all of us. May God Almighty grant you peace, progress, and success in all your life endeavors. The challenge is ours together, and together we will sail.
So I can assure Nigerians that you have the best team ever, and we're ready to work and we're hitting the ground running. In fact, I'm sure those videos you are seeing are very old videos. Of recent, you hardly ever hear any issue of welfare, shortage, non-payment of salaries. Every soldier is entitled to his pay, and we ensure that they get their pay. The service chiefs are doing a wonderful job, ensuring that the pays and allowances are received as at when due.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Military recovers 130 illegal weapons in Plateau State. After the break, more stories. Stay. If you are just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of some of our top stories. President Tinubu acknowledges tough economic situation, pledges to reduce burden imposed by fuel price hike and multiple exchange rate. And Senate resolves to intervene to avert Nigeria Labour Congress planned strike, screens 14 ministerial nominees. Moving to other stories now. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has announced the establishment of the Schools Protection Squad, SPS, a proactive initiative aimed at enhancing security and safety in educational institutions across Nigeria. A statement by Force Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi said the Acting Inspector General of Police has also concluded plans to launch a comprehensive standard operating procedure handbook for the Safe Schools program. The official launch and training event is scheduled to take place on August the 9th with the participation of 250 individuals drawn from various sectors, including the presidency, executive, judiciary, legislature, security agencies, civil society organizations, the media, school administrators, unions, and other stakeholders. The Schools Protection Squad is a specialized unit within the Nigeria Police Force tasked with drawing up policies and engaging relevant stakeholders to ensure the safety and protection of students, teachers, and school infrastructure. A statement said the Acting Inspector General of Police calls on all relevant stakeholders to actively participate and support the initiative for the safety and general well-being of our educational assets in Nigeria. In the meantime, no fewer than 130 small arms and ammunition have been recovered from non-state actors by Operation Safe Haven, a multi-security task force maintaining peace in Plateau and some parts of Bauchi and southern Kaduna. The commander of the operation, Major General Abdul Salami Abubakar, who disclosed this on Monday in Jos, the state capital, vowed to mop up all illicit arms and light weapons from criminals who perpetrate crimes across the state. Ado Musa completes that report.
The state has in recent times witnessed ethno-religious violence, leading to the loss of many lives and displacement of thousands. The commander of the operation, while handing over the illicit small arms and light weapons recovered by troops from various operations to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, North Central Chapter, said the operational success recorded by troops of Operation Safe Haven led to the discovery of 130 small arms and light weapons from criminal elements, adding that with the support of people in the state, more successes will be recorded.
Operation Safe Haven has recorded tremendous successes in stemming the tide of criminal attacks on communities as well as on individuals. Both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches have been employed at community, local government, as well as state levels to ensure that the mandate of the operation is achieved. The combined effect of our efforts have led to the neutralization of several bandits, arrest of suspects, recovery of weapons, as well as the capture of gun runners and prosecution of some of those culpable in fanning the embers of crisis in our joint area of operations.
In his remark, the North Central Zonal Coordinator, National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, Major General Hamza Ibrahim Bature, commended the effort of the operation.
I want to inform you that this is the second time that illicit weapons recovered from unauthorized persons have been handed over to us. I urge the entire good people of Plateau State to support the Operation Safe Haven.
The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taurit Lagwaja, had recently warned residents of the state to hand over all illegally acquired weapons to appropriate authorities or risk being arrested and prosecuted. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And still staying with security, the police command in Osun State has disclosed that 2 women in the state who were reported to have been kidnapped recently in different locations have confessed that they arranged their own abduction. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Kehinde Longe, said the instance of fake and stage-managed kidnapping has become rampant in the state. Hamid Oyegbade files this report.
Eniola Adedeji, a nursing mother and a university student, Ibukun Ayodele, were reported to have been abducted by kidnappers recently. The police anti-kidnapping squad in the state swung into action immediately to rescue them from their abductors. Their relatives eventually said that the kidnappers were demanding money as ransom. However, police investigation later revealed that the women arranged their abduction.
I actually did not know that it would go this length, this far to the police, because I think it is better for me not to kill myself for the depression, especially the postpartum depression. I did not want to kill myself. I did not want to commit suicide. But I actually did not think too that it will go to the police.
So I planned it with my boyfriend. He said his hand is not there, that he does not want to get involved with me. So I had to beg him that he should please. So he accepted and take me to where I'm going to lodge as well, sir.
The Commissioner of Police in the state, Kehinde Longe, said a community leader in the state also circulated a fake threat letter from armed robbers to landlords in Osogbo and caused panic among residents. The police public relations officer for Osun State Police Command, Yemisi Opalola, cautioned against such act, saying that it is a criminal offense.
We have seen in the recent time that many people said they are kidnapped, and most of them, when we got to the root of the cases, we see that they were not kidnapped at all. And I want to use this one to warn the members of the public that they should stop this one henceforth, because anybody that is arrested after this one, after the investigation, and we see that you tell lies, we are going to arraign you in the court of law, and you are going to face the wrath of law.
The police command said Osun State remains peaceful and safe and advised residents to go about their lawful businesses without fear. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
And health now, the federal government says it is mobilizing resources to respond to the outbreak of diphtheria through early case detection, containing the spread, preventing further transmission, and escalating routine immunization and vaccination in states. According to the federal government, it is doing this through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and other partners, following concerns over the expansion of the outbreak in the country to newer states. Here's that report.
The disease, which has been declared an outbreak in Nigeria since May 2022, is now a cause for more worry, as 836 of the cases have been confirmed in 33 local government areas across 8 states in the country as of July 27, 2023, with suboptimal vaccination coverage said to be responsible for outbreaks. According to the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, a total of 83 persons have died of diphtheria out of an estimated 2,455 suspected cases reported in 26 states within 15 months in Nigeria.
Unfortunately, there are still children who are unvaccinated despite the availability of free vaccines in the country's routine immunization schedule.
With adequate vaccination coverage, we could have avoided this. And most of them, from data that we have, 22% of the confirmed cases were only immunized. The rest were not vaccinated.
So to us it's clear that the COVID pandemic affected the speed that MPHCA was having to really increase the coverage. Coverage increased, but still we are missing the zero-dose children.
To facilitate immediate response to the outbreak, a multi-phase strategy will be carried out in 2 phases encompassing 25 LGAs across 4 states, 171 LGAs across 6 states, and targeted outbreak response in LGAs across 8 states.
We are leveraging surveillance data from the NCDC, direct information from the states to ensure effective planning and resource deployment. The agency is working closely with partners to ensure adequate supplies of tetanus TD for those children between 4 to 14 years and pentavalent vaccines for children under 4 years.
Establish National Diphtheria Technical Working Group that use one health approach and that engages all the partners and MDAs. And then we have also supported the states where they have had outbreak to establish incident management system. And we've supported development of capacity for the laboratories in these states to be able to confirm diphtheria, to make response faster, closer to the states, to make it more effective.
The antibiotics being used currently to treat diphtheria cases have shown that there is some resistance of the Corynebacterium diphtheriae to the antibiotic. So it's also part of the reason why we are seeing high mortality in some of the locations. As of today, 1,800 vials of diphtheria antitoxin is expected to arrive in country on 2nd of August, and erythromycin to follow in the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Health authorities say despite efforts by the federal government to provide safe and cost-effective vaccines, a significant number of children between 2 to 14 years remain unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, compromising the country's goal of achieving population immunity. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives Committee on HIV/AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria has reiterated the need to tackle the menace of proliferation of fake malaria drugs in the country to stop avoidable deaths from the disease. Chairman of the committee, Amobi Godwin Oga, made the remark at a press briefing at the National Assembly on Monday. He said the committee is not unmindful of the challenges being faced by Nigerians, as well as impediments in the fight against malaria in the country, which appears to defy solutions. He said the committee will work with relevant stakeholders in the fight against malaria in ensuring that monies budgeted for are used for the purpose for which they are made.
The technical strategy includes reducing malaria case incidence by at least 90% by 2030, reducing malaria mortality rates by at least 90% by 2030, eliminating malaria in at least 35 countries by 2030, preventing a resurgence of malaria in all countries that are malaria-free. The prevalence of fake malaria drugs will be looked into to avoid further deaths recorded. We will carry out our oversight function to ascertain the role of primary health care in the rollback malaria program.
In another development, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating alleged jobs racketeering by ministries, departments and agencies that they have petitions against 39 MDAs over allegations of job racketeering and other infractions. Chairman of the committee, Yusuf Gagdi, stated this at the resumed sitting of the committee on Monday. The committee was set up by the House to investigate the MDAs, parastatals, and tertiary institutions involved in the alleged mismanagement of the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS. Gagdi said some of the MDAs include the Federal Character Commission, Office of the Head of Service, Budget Office, IPPIS, Federal Civil Service Commission, and others.
Put me on record. If a letter did not get to Haruna Kolo today, summoning him to appear before this committee together with Isa Ahmed, the Secretariat will be held responsible. That is our ruling. Isa Ahmed, Kolo Haruna, the former HR, is he alive or is dead? And IPPS, director himself, on Friday we want you to appear alongside. Okay, we have someone in his office.
It's late.
I'm coming, sir. Let's appear here on Friday unfailingly.
The Nigerian Bar Association mourns as the judiciary loses two judges. Justice Sentus Chimanweze of the Supreme Court is Peter Malong of the Kaduna Division. Both died on Sunday in Abuja. The jurists were said to have been ill for a brief period. In a statement on Monday signed by the Publicity Secretary of the NBA, Habib Akorede Lawal, the Nigerian Bar Association NBA umbrella body of lawyers described Justice Nweze as an astute and erudite jurist. The association said his lordship's numerous decisions have shaped, impacted and developed our law and jurisprudence. He was a disciplined, hard-working and courageous judicial officer. They condole the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kayode Ariwola, the entire Nigerian judiciary, the government and people of Enugu State, friends and family of Justice Nweze, and pray that the Almighty God comfort them. Justice Nweze has delivered many impactful judgments, one of which is the dissenting judgment in the appeal filed by former Imo State Governor Emeka Ihedioha against Hope Uzodimma in 2020. Justice Nweze, a native of Obolo, Udenu local government area of Enugu State, was born on September the 25th in 1958. Meanwhile, the Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court, Hassan Amida Suleiman, announced the sudden death of Malong in a statement he made available to newsmen Monday morning. Justice Malong, who is from Plateau State, was born January 21st, 1963 in Yauri, Kebbi. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Time now to join Chamun Dabeng for business news.
According to the most recent data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, cash held outside of banks increased to 2.26 trillion naira at the end of June 2023. The CBN said between January 2023 and June 2023, the amount of money outside of banks increased by 185.68%, which is 1.47 trillion naira. The amount of money in circulation in the nation increased by 87.05%, which is 1.21 trillion naira from 1.39 trillion naira in January 2023 to 2.6 trillion naira in June 2023. Due to the CBN's Naira redesign policy, it had previously decreased by 235.33% to 982.09 billion naira at the end of February from 3.29 trillion naira at the end of October 2022. Only an average of 700 megawatts of the 4,000 megawatts of electricity that are primarily available from the National Integrated Power Projects are being dispatched. According to the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, it explained that this is because power distribution companies reject electricity loads. This indicated that the NIPPs, which were facilities managed by the NDPHC, were producing around 3,700 megawatts of electricity that the DISCOs were rejecting. Nigeria's power production and delivery from the national system had persisted between 3,500 megawatts and 5,000 megawatts, despite the country's approximately 200 million residents' incredibly high electrical needs. According to the NDPHC's most recent report, the irregular dispatch and inadequate dispatch of power grossly affect NDPHC's revenue generation capacity. That's all for Business News. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Thank you, Chamung. And on the international scene, the junta that seized power in Niger last week detained 3 more senior politicians from the ousted government on Monday, their party said, in defiance of international calls to restore democratic rule following days of turmoil. The International Monetary Fund said that it had not yet taken action in response to the coup, but was closely monitoring developments. It has yet to disburse a $131.5 million loan to Niger that was approved on July the 5th, it said. The regional central bank has meanwhile cancelled Niger's planned 30 billion CFA bond issuance scheduled for Monday in the West African regional debt market following sanctions, sources said. The African Union, the United Nations, the European Union and other powers have condemned the junta's overthrow of elected President Mohamed Bazoum, the 7th military takeover in less than 3 years in West and Central Africa. And for sports, let's join Adeni Ajishafe for Sports Update.
Nigerian Super Falcons saw out a goalless draw with the Republic of Ireland to secure progression to the last 16 of 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup in Brisbane, Australia. The Randy Wardrum-led ladies played Group B matches involving Canada goalless, defeated Australia and drew Republic of Ireland to remain unbeaten. The Irish ladies, despite being eliminated after losing their opening 2 games, dominated possession and almost led inside the opening 5 minutes as Katie McKirby drove a low shot just wide. Aissatou Shuala also shot wide with Nigeria's best chance in the first half, having been put through by Uchenna Kanu. Super Falcons were better after the break, and Kanu looked to have broken the deadlock with a downward header only for Ireland goalkeeper Courtney Brosnan to tip onto the crossbar. Despite Oshuala being taken off, Falcons were still strong going forward as Lily Agg and Louise Quinn had to be allowed to make goal-saving blocks. Super Falcons will play in the second round of FIFA Women's World Cup for the 3rd time in history, having done so in 1999, 2019 and 2023. Meanwhile, Australia dispatched Olympic women's gold medalist Canada in Group B's other match 4-0. Super Falcons will face the leader of Group D in the round of 16 encounter on 7th August. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we have come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentaries. On behalf of the team, I am Eugenia Abu. We thank you for finding time to watch.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.